Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the absolute heart of n8n, the node. It's the fundamental building block for every single workflow you'll ever create. But how do you actually use these little blocks to go from a totally blank screen to a powerful time-saving automation? You know the feeling. You open up the tool and you're staring at this blank canvas. So, how do you go from nothing to a complex, automated workflow that saves you hours of work? Well, it all comes down to one simple, really elegant idea. And what is this big idea? We like to call it the atom of automation. Seriously, it's the single most important piece of the entire puzzle. And once you get this one concept, everything else just clicks into place. It's the node. Think of it like a Lego brick, or even better, an atom. It's this tiny individual unit, but when you start snapping them together, you can build literally anything. Every single workflow, whether it's super simple or incredibly complex, is just a series of these nodes connected to each other. Okay, so if nodes are our building blocks, what kinds of blocks do we actually get to play with? Let's open up the toolkit and see what n8n gives us. The best way to think about it is that every workflow is a journey for your data. It all starts with an entry point, which we call a trigger. This is what kicks the whole thing off. In the middle, you have your functions. These are the workhorses that do all the heavy lifting, transforming, filtering, and shaping your data. And at the very end, you've got your exit points, which send that finished data out to other apps, exactly where it needs to go. All right, enough theory. Let's actually see this in action. We're going to stop talking about concepts and actually build a super simple flow right here, right now. Okay, so every flow has to start with a trigger. We'll just use a manual one for this example to get things going. From there, you just click the plus and connect your next node. A quick search for Google Sheets lets us add our first action. And just like that, look at that, the basic skeleton of our workflow is already on the canvas. So right now we have a node on our canvas, but it's really just a shape, an icon. It doesn't know what to do yet. We have to go inside and give it some instructions, and this is where the real magic happens. And how do you do that? It could not be simpler. You just double-click the node, and bam, that opens its configuration panel. This is basically your command center for this one specific step. Now, once you're inside a node, you're going to see two main areas you need to know about. First are the parameters. These are the unique instructions just for this node, like telling a Google Sheets node exactly which spreadsheet to read. Then you have the settings. You'll find these under that little gear icon, and these are options that apply to any node, stuff like error handling or adding notes for yourself. So the easy way to think about it is, parameters control what the node does, while settings control how it behaves. Of course, before we can just go and read that Google Sheet, we need to prove we have permission, right? That's where credentials come in. This is just how n8n securely connects to other services. You hook up your account one time, it saves super safely, and you never have to think about logging in for that service again when you're building. It's awesome, super efficient, and totally secure. So at the end of the day, what does a node really do? It's pretty simple. It takes some data in, it does something to it, and then it spits new data out. Let's follow that journey right through our Google Sheets node. Imagine this is our source data, a simple Google Sheet with some basic contact info. This is our data in. This is the stuff that's living outside our workflow that we want to grab and start working with. So we've told our node to run the get rows operation on this exact sheet. Now, when we hit execute, the node kind of reaches out to Google, shows its credentials, and just pulls that data right into our workflow. And here's the result. This is our data out. Look at that. The information has been successfully pulled into n8. This perfectly illustrates what a node does. It took raw data from an external app and turned it into structured data right here inside our workflow. Ready for the next step. And hey, look, it even added the row number for us, which is pretty handy. Okay, so once the data is inside n8n, you've got a few different ways to look at it. The table view is what we just saw. It's clean, easy to read, just like a spreadsheet. The schema view gives you a bird's eye view, a summary of your data structure. And then there's the JSON view. This one shows you the raw, nitty-gritty data itself. And you know what? We're going to be talking a lot more about that one very soon. And this brings us right back to where we started. The node truly is the atom of n8n. It's a simple, powerful little block that, when you connect it with others, allows you to build these incredibly sophisticated automations. So, we successfully pulled our data in and saw it in that nice, clean table. But I mentioned that other view, right? The JSON view.
What in the world is that? And more importantly, why is understanding that format the key to unlocking the true power of automation? We'll dive into that in our next explainer. See you then.